I keep a list called the burn roster. Everything that held me down, every story I was told about my ceiling and my crown. Being someone else's, every voice that settled in my head like an uninvited tenant running counter drains dead. I've silenced every relationship that cost more than it gave. Every version of myself I perform like a slave to someone else's comfort. Every door I stay behind out of fear. I wrote them all and now it's burning time.
The burn roster is the ceremony of the release, the ritual of choosing what gets left and what finds peace in the fire. Watch it go, there it goes, there goes the weight. The burn roster empties and the morning starts to feel like fate.
Everything that doesn't serve the life I'm trying to build, everything that fills the space where moral purpose should be filled, goes on the roster. I'm not angry, I'm just clear. Burn roster sees that some things are meant to be here. Burn roster, let it go. Everything that held me down has gotta go. Burn roster, watch it burn. Some things in life you keep and some things you return. To the fire, to the clear, and to the air. Burn roster, nothing left but what belongs right there. At the center of the life I'm choosing now. Burn roster, lighter than I've ever been somehow.
Let it burn, let it go.
Let it go.
Later now and built to grow.
Built to grow.
Let it burn, let it clear.
Let it clear. Only keep what's meant to be.
On the burn roster, habit of apologizing for existing. On the burn roster, the reflex of constantly assisting others with their dreams before I touch my own. On the roster, every relationship I outgrown but kept from guilt. The career path that was never mine, a city that I stayed in past the expiration of its time. On the burn roster, the version of myself that shrank to fit the room, the one who never said what he actually thankfully now says. I put the silence on the roster too. Watch it burn, the clearing is beginning. The sky is turning new. The burn roster isn't lost, it's discernment with a flame. After the burning, only what was truly mine remains.
Not everything deserves a seat at the table of your life. Not everyone deserves access to your energy and light. The burn roster is the bouncer in the boundary, in the line between the life you're living and the life that's finally mine. Burn roster, let it go. Everything that held me down has gotta go. Burn roster, watch it burn. Some things in life you keep and some things you return. To the fire, to the clear, and to the air. Burn roster, nothing left but what belongs right there. At the center of the life I'm choosing now. Burn roster, lighter than I've ever been somehow. The fire is not destruction, it's selection. It's the most precise and loving form of direction toward the life that only holds the true. Burn roster, choosing me, choosing you. Burn roster,
Ceremony of release,
burn roster.
everything that steals my peace.
Watch it go, watch it clear, watch it turn to air. Burn roster.
Only the essential stays right there.
I am lighter, I am free, I am finally beginning. Burn roster season over, and the real life is winning. Burn cleared beginning. Only what's true
I'm not the kind of hope that doesn't read the news, not the kind that looks away from everything we lose. I am calibrated hope. I've seen the data and the damage. I've seen the systems failing and the cost of every average day of being alive in a world that's complicated. Past the point of simple fixes and the early rising stated everything is fine, variety or moderational. The world is hard and I am here and I am rational and hopeful both, and I refuse the false equation that says you have to choose between clear-eyed examination of the truth and choosing hope, because the truest hope is forged inside the knowing and still choosing how to cope with agency. Calibrated hope means I've accounted for the dark and chosen to keep building anyway. That's where it starts. Not naive, not delusional, not wearing rose-tinted glass. Calibrated hope has read the history in the forecast and decided to keep building anyway. That's a harder kind. Calibrated hope is clear-eyed and it still refuses to be blind. Calibrated hope, I see the obstacles ahead. Calibrated hope, I know the cost and still I said yes to the building, yes to the trying, yes to the long game. Calibrated hope means I know the rules and play it anyway. Not in spite of knowing better, but because of what I know. The darkest accurate assessment is still not a reason to go. Calibrated hope, this is the honest kind. The hope that has read everything and still refuses to resign. Eyes open, still hoping, clear-eyed, still building, knowing odds still going.
still glowing.
There's a particular loneliness in being the calibrated one, when everyone around you wants a simple binary sun of either pure despair or an unprecated bright, and y'all living in the nuanced difficult gray light of knowing both at once. The structural inequity is real, and the individual human still can choose to feel their way towards something better. Both of these are true. Calibrated hope was both an ask, what do we do with the complexity? And the answer is keep going, keep the building, keep the writing, keep the knowing. Company of people who can hold the both and still decide to show up anyway. Calibrated will is the engine underneath the hope. I'm running it every complicated clear-eyed morning, and I love it. The easy hope burns bright and burns out quickly. The calibrated kind burns slow and sticks is tricky. To maintain the honesty and still keep your hope alive. Calibrated hope is how to long and build to survive. Calibrated hope, I see the obstacles ahead. Calibrated hope, I know the cost is still ahead. Yes to the building, yes to trying, yes to the long game. Calibrated hope means I know the rules and play it anyway. Not in spite of knowing better, but because of what I know. The target's accurate assessment is still not a reason to go. Calibrated hope, this is the honest kind. The hope that has read everything and still refuses to resign. Calibrated hope is not a feeling, it's a practice. It's the choosing every morning past the facts and past the reasons not to. It's the stubborn act of building when the evidence says stop. And that's the fact of hope, the truest kind. Not blind but choosing sight and building in the dark towards a calibrated light. Calibrated hope. Calibrated hope. Eyes open and I'm here. Calibrated hope. Choosing to be clear about the obstacles and choosing to go through. Calibrated hope. The most honest thing I do, not the naive kind, not the look away variety. The eyes wide open, reading everything and still choosing to be calibrated hope. The hard and beautiful kind, the hope that sees the full truth and refuses to be resigned.
Every wound I've carried became the architecture of who I am.
I used to think my damage was a reason to be quiet. Used to keep the broken pieces boxed and locked in private. Used to wear long sleeves over the marks of getting here. Used to call my history a liability of fear. But I've been walking through the wreckage of the years I barely made it, and I see it differently now that the shame has slowly faded. Every fracture in the foundation has a story worth the telling. Every crack in all my ceilings is where light has been compelling its way through.
And I've come to understand the math, that the cathedral was constructed from my aftermath. Every pillar is a hardship I refuse to let define me. Every window is a moment that the darkness couldn't blind me. And the altar at the center is the version I've become. Not despite the devastation, but because of everyone.
You can tear the walls down if you want to, but the foundation runs so deep. Every stone I laid in suffering is not a wound, it's a belief.
I built a cathedral out of scars, raised the steeple from the pieces of my broken heart. A cathedral out of scars, every shattered year became a work of art. Come inside and see the beauty of the damage done. Come inside, the light gets in through every single one. A cathedral out of scars, and I worship at the altar of survival every morning under stars.
Every scar a stone, every stone a home. Every home a holy place I've grown into my own. There was a year I couldn't leave the bed before the noon. A year I spoke to no one and I howled at my moon. A year the ceiling of my bedroom was my only sky. A year I answered every how are you with fine, and I was lying through my teeth because the truth was too expensive to spend on people who would only find it too intensive. But I was building even then, even in the stillness, even in the paralyzing grip of all that illness. I was gathering the marble for the arches of my healing. I was sketching floor plans in the cracks across my ceiling. Every prayer I made that no one heard was still a prayer. Every midnight still a midnight when I knew that I was there.
Still breathing, still arriving, still refusing to be through. Still becoming the cathedral that I never even knew.
You can call it damage, you can call it broken, but I call it the most honest thing I've spoken into being. Every hurt became a beam, every scar the architecture of a dream.
I built a cathedral out of scars, raised the steeple from the pieces of my broken heart. A cathedral out of scars, every shattered year became a work of art. Come inside and see the beauty of the damage
different kind of pride. Not the pride of having never fallen, but of having been inside of falling into crawling into getting back right and choosing to rebuild instead of choosing endless night. I met some people here who have their own cathedral standing, built from loss, from grief, from diagnosis, understanding, from the parents who were absent, from the teachers who believed, from the friends who held the land and when we couldn't be relieved. And I think about the architects who never get to thank the strangers on the corner and the counselors who rang so low and paid by high, and now they change the course of things. And I dedicate this cathedral and everything it brings to every builder in the rubble who kept going anyway. The cathedrals of our scars will be our legacy someday.
Holy ground is not a bay. Someday. Holy ground is not a place without pain. Holy ground is where the pain became something larger than the wound, something worth walking through. I am holy ground, I am the cathedral.
I am my own proof.
I built a cathedral out of scars, raised the steeple from the pieces of my broken heart. A cathedral out of scars, every shattered year became a work of art. Come inside and see the beauty of the damage done. Come inside, the light pours in through every single one. A cathedral out of scars,
And I worship at the altar of survival every morning under every star.
Like gasoline and spark, writing futures in the margins after dark. Before the world assigned a price to every dream, before they told us growing up means losing steam. My friends and I would sit on concrete rooftops high, talking about the lives we live against the sky. We didn't know, we were already living it. The ember years, the most exquisite.
And don't let the ember die, ember die. Burn through the artery now. Don't let the ember die, ember die. We were made to set the dark alight.
Youth is not a phase you outgrow, it's a fire that you choose to know.
Don't let the ember die, ember die.
Let it rise, let it rise, let it rise. Now we're 20-something racing, renting clocks, losing friends to time zones and the writer's block. But I still got that notebook from the rooftop nights. Still got that hunger that refuses to go quiet. They say be realistic, I say be alive. Being realistic is just settling to survive. I'd rather burn at full speed and run out of road than coast on empty playing someone else's role.
we are not wasted, we are not late. We are the morning that the night was building toward. Every detour, every mistake was the ember igniting out to be a torch.
Don't let the ember die, and light. Burn through the comfortable light. Don't let the ember die, and light. We were born to be the reason sky.
Turn from black to burning gold. We are young, we are bold, we are whole.
Don't let the ember die, and light.
Let it rise, let it rise, let it rise.
I've been mapping out the places where I crack. Every fault line, every fracture on the track. They say fix yourself before you fix the world. But which version of myself gets to unfurl? The one who smiles in daylight for the crowd, or the one at 4 a.m. who screams too loud? I've been carrying an earthquake in my chest, pretending it's just heartburn like the rest. These fault lines are mine. Every crack, every break, every borderline. I was broken, I will fill the void with a version of myself that is destroyed. These fault lines are mine. They're the proof that I survived the design of a world that's to be perfect all
mental. Tell me son, you're too emotional. Said in this industry that's not devotional, but every song that ever saved me and my worst was written by someone who let the feelings burst. So I kept the trembling in my voice, the shaky hands, the way I would think before I take a stand. Maybe my disorder is my artistry, maybe falling apart was always part of me. Gold was never silent, it had to melt first. Beauty was never painless, it had to hurt first. I am the pressure in the diamond boat, I am the wound and also the growth. These fault lines are mine, every crack, every break, every borderline. I was broken, I won't fill the void. I am home because of what I've been destroyed. These fault lines are fine, they're the story written deep inside my spine. Of a world that said be perfect or be gone. I chose myself and I am carrying on. I built my faith in the foxhole when there was nowhere left to run, when the options ran to zero and the damage had been done in that particular season, where the walls came fully down and the version I've been protecting finally hit the ground. I had no theology, no system and no proof, just an animal insisting staying under my own roof. A skin still breathing, still arriving in the morning, against a reasonable expectation without warning that anything would change, and yet it did, and yet I'm here. The Foxhole Faith I built from nothing is the thing I hold most dear. You don't find faith in the comfortable places, you find it face down in the smallest of spaces. When the only thing left is the breath and the will. Foxhole Faith, quiet, desperate and still. Foxhole Faith, born in the dark, but from nothing in the middle of the falling apart. Foxhole Faith, the smallest flame that refused to go out when the whole world became unrecognizable. I held on anyway. Foxhole Faith, carry me here today. The deepest faith I know was born the day I had nothing, and it turned out nothing was still something.
Nothing left but faith, that was enough. Nothing left but bread, that was enough. Nothing left but will, still enough. Foxhole Faith, always enough.
The foxhole is a metaphor for every rock bottom year, for every stripped down season, when the only thing left clear is the irreducible essential fact that you exist, and existing is the argument you're adding to the list of reasons to continue. I've been in that foxhole twice, and each time what I built there was more solid and precise than anything I constructed in the comfortable days. The foxhole teaches focus like no abundance ever pays. The dividend of clarity on what you're actually for. The foxhole strips the unnecessary and leaves the core. The foxhole is not failure, it's the deepest kind of school. Every lesson learned in desperation is a tool you carry past the foxhole into every open field. Foxhole Faith, the most unbreakable thing you'll ever wield. Foxhole Faith, born in the dark, built from nothing in the middle of the falling apart. Foxhole Faith, born in the dark, built from nothing in the middle of the falling apart. Foxhole Faith, the smallest flame that refused to go out when the whole world became unrecognizable. I held on anyway. Foxhole Faith, carry me here today. The deepest faith I know was born the day I had nothing, and it turned out nothing was still something. The foxhole, you discover what you're actually made of, not the decorated version, the irreducible grade of human that survives when every comfort has been taken. Foxhole Faith is what remains when everything is shaken, and what remains is more than I expected it to be. What remains is enough, what remains is me. What remains is enough, what remains is me. Foxhole Faith, I carry it with pride, from nothing on the night I nearly didn't survive. Foxhole Faith, it burns low and it burns long, the quietest and most unshakable of all my songs. Unrecognizable days became the making of my name. Foxhole Faith, I would not trade a single flame. Deepest thing I own was born the day I had nothing, and then it turned out nothing was my everything. Still your Foxhole Faith, that was always enough. I won the race and stood there on the podium, confused because the trophy in my hand felt borrowed and misused for something that I'd optimized for years without the question of whether this was actually the right direction. I was a hollow champion, the title fit the resume, but somewhere between ambition and arrival I had lost the way. Back to the reason I began, back to the wanting that was pure before the wanting got corrupted by the needing to be sure I was the best in somebody's external legend. Now I'm starting over, a beginner and a pledger of allegiance to the version of success that doesn't leave me hollow when I finally get to rest. Winning the wrong race is its own kind of losing, reaching the wrong summit is its own kind of bruising. Better to begin again with the right destination clear than to keep on winning all the way in a race you
shouldn't be here.
I was a hollow champion, gold on the outside, empty in the middle where my reason used to reside. Hollow champion, I put the trophy down and walked away from everything I built to find the ground of what I actually wanted underneath the winning. Hollow champion no more, I'm just beginning the race that actually leads somewhere I wanna be. Hollow champion was never the real me. Put the trophy down,
Choose the truth,
put the title down,
choose the you.
I started this before the world decided what you're for. Hollow champion, no more. The hardest thing about the hollow victor is the cost of admitting publicly that something so accomplished is lost on you, that you climbed a mountain and arrived at the top, and the view was someone else's and you finally had to stop. Performance satisfaction for the audience of proof that the sacrifices matter, standing on that roof of achievement. Looking down, I saw the younger me, still at the start line, full of undirected energy. And I wanted to go back and say, before you optimize, make sure the thing you're optimizing for aligns with the actual interior of who you were inside. Because the hollow trophy on the hollow champion slide.
For the finish line is not the ending of the story. It's the moment you discover there's a different kind of glory. The new race has no podium, it is something better. A feeling in the morning like you finally wrote the letter
To the life you actually wanted and you mailed it. Hollow champion season, you survived it, you transcended it. I was a hollow champion, gold on the outside, empty in the middle where my reason used to reside. Hollow champion, I put the trophy down and walked away from everything I built to find the ground of what I actually wanted underneath the winning. Hollow champion no more, I'm just beginning the race that actually leads somewhere I wanna be. Hollow champion was never the real me. The real win doesn't look like the trophies they describe. The real win is the morning that you feel fully alive. The real win is the work that you do even for free. Hollow champion no more, this is finally me. No more hollow champion, I choose the real. No more optimizing for a life I cannot feel. I put the trophy down, I chose the truth, I chose the start of the race that leads directly to my actual heart. Hollow champion, the chapter's done. I'm the beginning of a different kind of one, the race that actually leads somewhere I wanna be. Hollow no more, this is finally me. Trophy down, I'm starting real. This is what winning was always supposed to be. Trophy down, I'm starting real. This is what winning was always supposed to feel like.
I became a landing keeper somewhere in my early 20s, when the people that I love were lost in their own darkened centuries of struggle. And I found that I could hold a steady glow, not because I had it figured out, but just because I know the darkness well enough to navigate around its edges, well enough to guide them back from all those manor ledges that they've been standing on. I've been there, I can map it, I can say I know this place, I know exactly how to happen. Your way through it, follow me, and when you tire, I will carry the land in between us until neither one of us is weary of the night, because we've learned to be each other's source of the small persistent light that keeps us on our course. And in the keeping of the land, and something strange occurred. I found that my own light was stronger with each word. A single candle loses nothing, giving light to another. Every land and share just means one less person lost out in the dark without a brother. I am a lantern keeper, I carry light through other people's storm. I am a lantern keeper, found my purpose in the darkest of the forms of love. The love that shows up in the middle of the night, the love that doesn't ask for anything but offers you its light. I am a lantern keeper, and in keeping yours, I learn to keep my own alive. Light given freely multiplies, every lantern shared expands the skies. We are all both keeper and the kept, we are all both waking and in desperate need of depth. But I won't pretend the keeping doesn't cost the keeper something, won't pretend I haven't broken underneath the weight of running to every crisis with my lantern burning at both ends. Won't pretend I haven't lost myself inside my friends, the needs becoming so familiar that I lost the map. Back to my own, I looked up one day at the gap where my own wanting used to be, and found it filled with others. Their urgencies, their midnights, and their healing and the covers. Pulled up over problems that require my steady presence, and I gave it all and gave it well, but in my acquiescence lost the thread of what I needed, what I wanted, what I saw. And the lantern of my own life flickered nearly out to naught. So I learned the hardest lesson that a keeper has to learn, that you cannot give to others what you haven't let yourself earn. Fill your own lantern first, then go and light the world. You can't pour from an empty vessel, you can't guide if you're unfurled. I am a lantern keeper, learning how to also keep my own. I am a lantern keeper, learning how to not get lost alone in other people's darkness. It's a balance and an art to hold the light for others while you're tending to your heart. I am a lantern keeper, and the first lantern I keep is the one I call my star.
Now I I keep my lantern filled with resting with intention, with the mornings that I guard from the intrusion of convention, with the silence and the solitude and the creative time, with the art that feeds the artist and the rhythm and the rhyme that reminds me I exist beyond the helping and the giving, that the act of keeping lanterns is just one part of the living. I am also the receiver of the light that others hold. I am also the one shivering who needs someone's warmth and bold steady presence at my side when I'm the one who's lost the trail. And I've learned to let that in, to let my armor finally fail, just enough to let a lantern find its way to where I am, just enough to stop performing and to finally understand that the lantern keepers of the world need lantern keepers too, and the bravest kind of keeping is saying I need you.
We were never meant to carry all the dark alone. Every lantern needs another lantern coming home. I hold yours when you're exhausted, you hold mine when I run low. Lantern keepers keeping lanterns, this is how the living goes.
We are all lantern keepers. We all carry light through each other's storms. We are all lantern keepers, finding purpose in the darkest kind of forms of love. The love that shows up in the middle of the night, the love that doesn't ask for anything but offers you its light. All lantern keepers, and in keeping yours, I finally kept my own alive.
Receive the lantern keepers, all of us. I give light. Receive the lantern keepers, all of us. I give light. Receive the lantern keepers, all of us. All of us, all of us. I've been running on empty for so long. The tank's a metaphor for every resource that I've spent and still kept reaching for the finish line that keeps on moving every time I'm close. The version of success that haunts me like a midnight ghost.
My bank account is a short story with a tragic arc. My resume is full of near misses in the dark. My body sends me signals that I override with caffeine, in the belief that quitting now would be a waste of everything. I bled into this dream of mine, I've sacrificed to sleep. I've traded present comfort for a future I can keep. And still the world keeps asking, are you there yet, are you done? And all I gotta answer with is I am still someone who runs. Even on empty, even on the fumes of faith, even when the road ahead has got no landmarks left in place. I don't have certainty, I don't have proof, I just have the stubborn truth that I was not made to stop here.
I was made to break through.
Running on empty faith,
Just the will to keep my feet upon this road.
running on empty faith.
Just the fire that refuses to go cold. I don't need a guarantee, I don't need the end in sight. I just need to know the morning comes after the night. On empty faith, and somehow that has always been enough.
Empty faith,
Still faith,
empty faith,
still faith,
empty tank,
still flame,
empty hands,
still reaching,
still arriving all the same.
I watch the ones who burn the brightest burn completely out. I watch the ones who play it safe go crazy from the doubt. I watch the early peakers peak too soon and lose the thread. I watch the late bloomers arrive and be misread as failures until suddenly the world adjusted its prescription and recognized the genius in the unconventional description. That's the lane, I'm in the lane that doesn't have a pace car. The lane where all the mileage shows but all the signs say you've come far.
enough to know the difference between tired and done, between needing rest and needing to be someone
Other than yourself, I know the difference now. And I'm tired, but I'm not done. I just need to remember how to pace the fire, baking it for when the climb gets steep, and trust that empty faith is still a promise I can't keep.
I've been tested in the fire, I've come out changed, not destroyed but rearranged into something that the easy road
Could never have contained.
Running on empty faith, just the will to keep my feet upon this road. Running on empty faith, just the fire that refuses to go cold. I don't need a guarantee, I don't need the end in sight. I just need to know the morning comes after the night. On empty faith, somehow that has always been
There's a
enough.
philosophy I carry like a stone inside my pocket, that the universe rewards the ones who don't know how to stop it. Not the gifted, not the lucky, not the ones with all the doors, but the ones who keep on knocking when the knocking gets ignored. I've been broke in February with a March that looked like nothing. I've been turned away at April when the summer started rushing toward a fall that finally felt like something worth the whole of every empty faith fueled mile I gave my soul.
And now I'm running not from fear but running toward the light, that I can feel ahead of me even in the night. The tank is empty, yes, but empty doesn't mean the end. It means I've given everything and I can give again tomorrow. I stood replenished and reminded why I run. Running on empty faith until the race is fine. finally done. Faith is not certainty, faith is the moving forward anyway. Faith is not the absence of fear, faith is the running through it every day.
I am not empty, I am efficient. I carry only what I need, which is the one unbreakable conviction that I was planted here to seed.
Running on empty faith, and finding that the empty fills back up. Running on empty faith, finding grace inside the almost giving up. I don't need a destination, I don't need the end today. I just need to keep believing in the moving and the way. Running on empty faith, somehow I am always more than enough. Still running, still running. Empty tank, full heart, still running. Still running, still running. Empty faith, full heart, still here. I've been an apprentice to my shadow for the better part of me, learning every contour of the dark that I refuse to see. For a decade outsourced my blame to every available outside. Every failure had a villain who conveniently wasn't I. But there's a reckoning that comes when you run out of excuses, when the pattern is so obvious through all its different uses, that you finally have to face the common denominator. The face in every story's mirror is your own. You're the curator of every wound you keep reopening, every bridge you burned, every lesson that the universe keeps offering to learn. So I sat down with my shadow and I said, okay, I'm listening, I'm ready to apprentice under everything that you've been whispering.
The back of every choice I made and every road I chose. Teach me what I need to know. I'm ready for the shadows. My shadow knows the things I've tried to bury. My shadow holds the truth I've been too wary, too afraid to face. But fear is information, and the shadow is the doorway, not the destination. I am a shadow apprentice,
Learning from the darkness everything the light withheld.
I am a shadow apprentice.
Earning from the underground the wisdom I compelled myself to finally face the envy and the pride, the fear beneath the anger and the wound beneath the
I
hide.
am a shadow apprentice.
And the mastery I'm reaching for is
Wholeness from the inside.
Diva is not enemy.
Shadow is the teacher you've been running from.
Face the shadow, know the shadow.
Become the wholeness you are made to come from.
The shadow told me this, the thing you judge the most in others is the thing you most deny in you. Beneath the surface mothers every trait you love to criticize. From a safe superior distance is the trait you bury deepest with the most precise insistence. I hated arrogance, my shadow said look closer. I hated people pleasers, felt the chill run through my composure. I hated those who quit too easy. Shadow held the mirror still until I recognized the quitter that I've been against my will. In every relationship that got too real, too deep, too much, and every opportunity that threatened to become a crutch for my identity. I left before the leaving could be done to me, protecting the illusion of my radical autonomy. My shadow has a PhD in all of this and more, and I've become a better person than I was by learning what it's for. I'm not afraid of what I find down here anymore. I'm not afraid to open every carefully kept door. The worst of me is just the best of me, still waiting to be taught.
I am a shadow apprentice,
Learning from the darkness everything the light withheld.
I am a shadow apprentice.
Earning from the underground the wisdom I compelled myself to finally face the envy and the pride, the fear beneath the anger and the wound beneath the
I
hide.
am a shadow apprentice.
And the mastery I'm reaching for is wholeness from the inside. Here is what the shadow taught me at the end of the apprenticeship. Every darkness that I carried was a gift I hadn't opened yet. The anger was a boundary I've been taught to not enforce. The sadness was a love so deep it had no other course. But grief, the loneliness was hunger for a deeper kind of knowing. The fear was just a bodyguard of everything worth going toward. The shadow is not evil, it is unloved energy, asking to be integrated into the totality of who I am. Not acting out in every unconscious way, but seated at the table of my being every day, contributing its wisdom to the choices that I make. It's caution to the risk and it's passion to the stakes.
I am graduating from my shadow school this year, not with a diploma but with both that's finally clear. Integrate, don't eliminate. The shadow is the other half of everything you are becoming on your behalf. Light and shadow make the whole day and night complete soul. I am my own shadow student. I am becoming whole. I am a shadow apprentice,
Graduated into something I could never plan.
I am a shadow apprentice.
Became the most complete version I began to dream of when I
splinter season hit me at 24 without a notice. Everything I built came apart at the focus point where all the pressure and the structure met the flaw. I watched the splinter slowly, then I watched the splinter raw and fast. The job deletes the person and the plan. All of it unraveling faster than I ran to hold it, but you cannot hold a splinter season back. You can only let it clear and start filling in the cracks.
When it's done with you and what it leaves is strange and bare. A cleared out empty honest space and finally some air.
The splinter season came to take what wasn't built to last. It cleared the dead wood from the future and the past.
And standing in the clearing I can finally start to see the shape of what was actually meant for me. Splinter season, I survived it. Everything that broke was never mine to keep inside it. Splinter season, I came through, stripped down to the irreducibly true.
Everything the splinter took was weight I didn't need. Everything the splinter clear made room for what could breathe.
Splinter season, I survived and I have never felt more genuinely alive.
Break it down, build it true. Splinter season, made me new. Let it go, let it clear.
The best is what remains right here.
In the splinter season, I became acquainted with the floor, with the ceiling and the walls, and the particular door that only opens from the inside. And I found the key was giving up the performance of invulnerability. The splinter season asked me what was worth rebuilding, and I had to be honest, half of what I've been gilding was someone else's expectation worn as my own face. The splinter season cleared that and returned my actual road space, my actual voice, my actual one, my actual north. And everything I built since then has had a different worth. You can mourn the splinter season, or you can read the clearing as the room you needed for the life we're finally appearing. The splinter was a teacher even when it felt like loss. Every splinter season has a value beyond its cost.
Oh, splinter season, I survived it. Everything that broke was never mine to keep inside it. Splinter season, I came through, stripped down to the irreducibly true.
Everything the splinter took was weight I didn't need. Everything the splinter cleared made room for what could breathe.
Splinter season, I survived and I have never felt more genuinely alive. Splinter seasons are the forest fires, clearing out the dry to feed the new. Every splinter season in your life was making space for something true. Let it splinter, let it go. What remains is what was meant to grow.
Splinter
season, I made it through. Every crack and splinter showed me what was true. Splinter season, the clearing came, and nothing that was left was ever quite the same. Everything the splinter took I didn't need to keep. Everything the splinter cleared allowed me finally to breathe. Splinter season, I arrived on the other side of everything, and I am alive. Splinter cleared, rebuild. This version is the truest one.
They put a number on my worth before I knew my name. GPA and test scores like a child's a day to frame. 20 years of pressure in a box they built for me, but I kicked the walls until my feet were finally free.
Sleep deprived and overstretched, running on empty grace. Every mirror showing someone wearing someone else's face. But even in the rubble of who I used to be, I found a single flame that whispers still believe.
Still standing in the rain, still standing through the pain. But never broken by the weight of still standing when it's cold, still standing growing old. It is someone I am finally proud to hold.
Yeah, lost a friend to silence, lost a year to fear. Smiled in every photo while I disappeared. No one asked if I was drowning, just if I was done with the homework that was due before the sun. But I kept the receipts of every single night I made it. Every time I thought I quit but never did, I waited for the version of the morning that would finally feel like mine. And now I wear that version like a spine.
Still standing in the rain, still standing through the pain. But never broken by the weight of still standing when it's cold, still standing growing old. It is someone I am finally proud to hold. You can take the nights I cried alone. You can take the years I lost my home.
Still standing after all, still standing every fall. Still standing with these scars that tell the story of it all. Still standing in my truth, still standing, that's my proof that the hardest chapter of my life became my
There's a distance between the person that I am today and the one I see when I imagine all the ways the story could unfold from here. A gap I live inside for years, like an apprentice and the master standing side by side, but separated. I can see him just ahead. I can hear the conversation that we haven't had between the present and the future, and the distance is the work. The daily showing up, the daily willingness to hurt and heal and grow and try again. The distance is the life. The gap between who I am now and who I'm becoming is the right size. Not too far to feel impossible, not too close to lose the urgency of the becoming and the need to choose.
The distance isn't failure, it's the journey. The gap is not a wound, it's just the yearning of the life you're moving toward, one day at a time. The distance between is where you find
The distance between who I am and who I'm becoming is the only road worth running. The distance between the seed and the tree is the whole beautiful story of me. I'm not behind, I'm not too late, I'm in the between, the most alive and human place I've ever been. The distance between, that's where I live, that's where I learn, that's where I give everything, everything. And
Not there yet, and that's the point. Not there yet. The between is the joint between the root and the reaching. The distance is the teaching. Between the root and the reaching, the distance is the teaching. The distance between can feel like failure when the comparison is horizontal. When you measure your beginning against someone else's middle, or the end of reckoning of comparing start lines with finish line is beckoning. You're taught a misery that has no resolution, because the only antidote is the evolution of your own specific timeline at your own specific pace. The distance between me and my future is my own to trace, not theirs. And when I stopped converting other people's miles into my own, the distance started shrinking into smiles of recognition. There I am in the between, exactly where I need to be, exactly what I mean to be right now.
The distance is the right size, and I'm walking it with open hands and open eyes. Walk the distance, don't resent it. The between is where the best of you invented. Who you're gonna become, trust the road. The distance between is where you'll find your home.
the distance between who I am and who I'm becoming is the only road worth running. The distance between the seed and the tree is the whole beautiful story of me. I'm not behind, I'm not too late, I'm in the between, the most alive and human place I've ever been. The distance between, that's where I live, that's where I learn, that's on the between. It's not a waiting room, it's the whole museum of your becoming. Every room a version, every room a clue. The distance between is the whole truth of you.
The distance between,
I've stopped resenting it.
the distance between.
I've started tending it like a garden that needs daily water, daily care. The distance between who I am and who I'll be, I'm there. Right in the middle of the story being written, right in the beautiful, uncomfortable distance. The distance between, this is my home, this is the only ground I'll ever truly own.
In the between, right where I need to be, still becoming, always becoming. I took a detour somewhere around 23. Chased a version of success that wasn't really me. Wore a suit that fit the office but not the soul. Watch my reflection grow a stranger in the cold.
2 years of yes when everything inside said no. 2 years of dimming just to make the hallway glow. Until one morning on a train to nowhere I just knew that the longest road I traveled was the road back to the truth.
It's a long road home, through the versions of yourself you had to be. It's a long road home, back to who you were when you were free.
But every mile, every wrong turn, every scar just means you know exactly where
salary and started small. Traded the penthouse view for a studio wall, covered in lyrics that I wrote to stay alive. Proof that underneath the armor I survived. My parents worried, said I'm throwing it away, but I was finally building something meant to stay. Not for the applause, not for the paychecks at the end, but for the kid inside who finally feels like a friend.
Home is not a place, home is the moment when you stop pretending. Home is where the race becomes a journey worth attending. I am almost there, I can feel it in the distance getting near. After years of running from myself, I'm finally here.
It's a long road home, but I wouldn't trade a single step I've known. It's a long road home,
But it's the only road that's truly mine alone.
every mile, every wrong turn, every scar brought me back to knowing who we are. On the long road home,
We made it on the long road home.
I used to live in the loud, quiet, the kind of silence that fills the room right after you decided not to try and say the thing that's sitting right behind your teeth. The opinion and the feeling and the underneath of every conversation that I smiled through. Well, the actual truth was doing laps in me and knew it wasn't getting out today. I was fluent in the swallowing, the art of the internal, the performance of the following, without a word of what I actually saw and felt. And the loud, quiet was the loudest hand I've been dealt, because it kept on getting louder every time I passed the moment where my voice could finally be asked to step up. And I kept on not stepping, kept it quiet until the quiet started sounding like a riot inside. The loud quiet is when silence becomes deafening, when everything unsaid is threatening to become the only thing you'll ever know. I chose to let the loud quiet finally go. I broke the loud quiet, let my voice arrive, said the thing I'd been rehearsing since I was 25. I broke the loud quiet, and the room didn't end. No catastrophe, no exile, just a door that opened. And I walked through into something that I didn't know was there. On the other side of speaking, just the clean and open air of being fully present with my actual self inside the room. I broke the loud quiet and it finally made room. Speak, the room won't end. Speak, the silence wasn't your friend. Speak, your voice was always real. Speak and let the room finally feel you. The first time I spoke in full, I mean completely, without editing, the filter and the softening, the careful considering of how it would land before it left my mouth. The first time I just said it plain and honest, on exact right dime of the moment. Something changed in the architecture of my life, like a key turning in a sector that had been locked so long I'd forgotten it was there. I found a room of my own voice and it had light and air, and I've been living in that room and learning how to stay, how to not drift back toward the loud quiet every day. When the risk of being heard and misunderstood is real, I choose the voice anyway. I choose to let them feel the actual frequency of what I actually think. The loud quiet almost pulled me to the brink. I choose to speak. The loud quiet costs more than speaking never will. The price of silence is a life of standing still inside your own voice, waiting for permission. I gave myself permission. That's the holy substance. The loud quiet, let my voice arrive, said the thing I've been rehearsing since I was 25. The loud quiet, and the room didn't end. No catastrophe, no exile, just a door that opened. And I walked through into something that I didn't know was there. On the other side of speaking, just the clean and open air of being fully present with my actual self inside the room. I broke the loud quiet and it from. Your voice was always real, it was just a phrase. Your words were always worth it, they just needed to be made into sound. The loud quiet is over now. You broke it and the breaking was the whole vow. I broke the loud quiet, it's gone, my voice is here. Said the true thing for the first time without fear. Broke the loud quiet, and the room expanded into something that I hadn't even planned, but landed perfectly. The other side of speaking is alive. That's where I've been living since the day I chose to thrive. I broke the loud quiet, I belong inside this room. My voice, my truth, my presence finally in full. The loud quiet is over.
edges where the world is pulled the most, where the daily friction of surviving leaves the thinnest ghost of the person that I started as before the years of use, before the giving and the taking left these patterns of abuse on the fabric of my patience and the weave of my belief. But threadbare doesn't mean broken, it means nothing was kept brief. It means I wore myself into the places that I love. It means I showed up and kept showing, and I never gave above a hollow gesture. Everything I gave was real and felt, and if the fabric's thin, it's thin because I played the hand I dealt with. Everything I had and held back nothing from the table. Threadbare is the proof that I was more than I was able to sustain indefinitely. Look at what I built. In the wearing of myself, there is no reason left for guilt. The most beloved things get worn the most used past get soft. I am threadbare at the places that I gave the most of all. Threadbare, and still standing here, worn thin by love and loss and all the in-between. Yeah, threadbare, and still beautiful. The thinning is the evidence that I was full of life, of effort, of the willingness to try. Threadbare, and still here, reaching for the sky. Where am I wearing like a badge? I earned the hard way. Threadbare is the most honest thing you'll see on me today. Worn is not wasted, used is not used up. The most threadbare among us are the ones who gave enough. My grandmother kept a sweater for 40 years until the elbows were translucent and the collar hung still. She wore it every winter and she wore it in the garden. She wore it to the hospital when granddad's heart had hardened. And I asked her why she kept it past the point of all repair. She said because the wearing is the story woven there. See this thread, that's the winter that I almost lost my mind. See this patch, that's the summer when I left the worst behind. See this hole, that's the day your mother first called out for me. She said the threadbare parts are where the living used to be. And something in me cracked open like a window in a room that had been sealed for years against the possibility of bloom. I wanna be that sweater worn completely honest to the last. Threadbare as the testimony of a life lived unsurpassed. Don't apologize for showing where you've been. Don't hide the places life is thin. The threadbare parts of you are not a flaw. They're the most beautiful thing I ever saw. Threadbare, and still standing here, worn thin by love and loss and all the in-between. Yeah, threadbare, and still beautiful. The thinning is the evidence that I was full of life, of effort, of the willingness to try. Threadbare, and still here, reaching for the sky. Where am I wearing like a badge? I earned the hard way. Threadbare is the most honest thing you'll see on me today. This generation's pressure to appear without a seam, curated and untouched and living someone else's dream. But I'm here celebrating every visible repair. Every kintsugi crack I fill with gold instead of air. The Japanese art of the golden broken thing, where the mending is the beauty and the fracture gets to sing. I am threadbare and I'm golden, where the living wore me through. And every thinning is a testament to what I went and drew from some impossible reservoir of stubborn human love that kept on giving even when I'd long run out of enough. I gave until my edges straight and then I gave some more. And what remains is something truer than the underimage before. So wear me threadbare world, I'm not afraid to use. The most threadbare among us are the ones with least excuse for not having love completely. Threadbare is the prize of a life that opened fully underneath the open skies.
Patch me with gold, fill my holes with stories. Everyone else seen a chapter of my glories. I don't need to be alone, I need to be fully seen. Threadbare, beautiful and honest, everything the wearing means. Threadbare, and still standing here, worn thin and proud of every wearing, yeah. Threadbare and magnificent, the thinning is the proof that I was present in it. Every life, every effort, every impossible try. Threadbare is still here, still reaching for the sky. Where am I wearing like the most beautiful the sky? Threadbare, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Worn thin, golden through. Threadbare is the truest version of you. I am not the crashing wave, I am the turning tide. The one that keeps on coming back regardless of the ride. The weather takes the ocean on, the storm may raise the sky, but the tide keeps its appointment without asking it why. This is the kind of courage ain't nobody writes a song about. The showing up a Tuesday, kind of undramatic route of daily recommitment to the thing you said you do. When the inspiration dried and all that's left is you and the decision. The tide doesn't wait for feeling, the tide doesn't need a motive. motivation speech before revealing his consistent presence on the shore. And I decided to be that tide keeper, steady and undivided. The tide is the most powerful thing in the ocean, not because of force, but because of devotion to the rhythm, showing up without condition every time. Tide keeper, consistency is the most radical climb. I am a tide keeper. I come back every day, not because it's glamorous, but because it's the way that mountains get moved. Not in one dramatic out, but in the daily patient pressure of the tidal power. Tide keeper, this is my kind of brave, not the sudden heroic, the consistent and the stay. I'm a tide keeper, and the shore I'm working on will be transformed by the returning long after I am gone.
Come back, that's the brave thing. Come back, every day the same thing. Come back, tide keeper courage. Showing up is the language.
We glorify the breakthroughs and the overnight success. We frame the sudden rising as the standard for the best. But the tide knows better, knows the shore is shaped in years. Not moments, every grain of sand a day is showing up appears. In the aggregator's transformation, this is what I preach to myself at 6 a.m. with motivations out of reach. And all I have is discipline, and discipline is love in its most unglamorous and reliable form of commitment to the craft, the person and the goal. The tide keeper doesn't stop because the day is cold, doesn't stop because the audience is small. The tide keeps coming cause the coming is the point and I abide. Be the tide, not the tsunami, slow and sure indeed. Be the tide keeper, the promises you keep to yourself in the absence of applause. Tide keepers where the real courage was. I am a tide keeper. I come back every day, not because it's glamorous, but because it's the way that mountains get moved. Not in one dramatic hour, but in the daily patient pressure of the tidal power. Tide keeper, this is my kind of brave, not the sudden heroic, the consistent and the stay. I'm a tide keeper, and the shore I'm working on will be transformed by the returning long after I am gone. The tide doesn't need a reason every morning. The tide doesn't wait for perfect weather warning. The tide just comes and so do I. Tide keeper, showing up until the day I die. I am a tide keeper, the most quietly brave, coming back when no one's watching. Every single wave, a declaration that I chose this, that I'm here. Tide keeper, year by year, the shore is changed by what returns consistently. Tide keeper, that's the life I choose to be. Coming back, that's the whole job and the whole art. Tide keeper, steady, faithful, whole of heart.
Come back tomorrow and the day after.
Tide keeper.
That's the whole thing. That's all of it.
Yeah, ay, 18 with a backpack full of broken promises, running through a city that don't know my name. Every door I knocked on left a fish shape pulling me, but I rebuilt my knuckles just to knock again. My mom says, son, the world won't hand you anything. I said, I know, that's why I'm building mine from scratch. They laugh when I wrote dreams on a napkin at 2 a.m. Now those same hands hold the pen that wrote me back.
Every scar was a lesson written deep in my skin. Every night I almost quit was just a place to begin.
We got unbroken wings, even when the storm keeps pulling us down. We got unbroken wings. We were made to rise above the ground. Through the fire, through the flood, with nothing left but will and blood. We got unbroken wings, and we're learning how to fly right now. Yeah, 22 and still sleeping on ambition. Alarm set for 5 a.m., no day off. They say talent's not enough, you need a system. But the system wasn't built for kids like us. I collected every note like a trophy shelf, turned rejection letters into motivation. Fuel the hunger that they try to starve inside my chest, grew into a fire that they cannot cool. We got unbroken wings, even when the storm keeps pulling us down. We got unbroken wings. We were made to rise above the ground.
Through the fire, through the flood, with nothing left but will and blood.
We got unbroken wings, and we're learning how to fly right now. I don't need them to believe me, I just need myself to stay. Every mountain that I'm climbing is a debt that I will pay. To the version of me crying on the bathroom floor at 3. I survived you, I became you, now you're finally free. We got unbroken wings, even when the storm keeps pulling us down. We got unbroken wings. We were made to rise above the ground.
no ceiling.